Every time I try to talk about an anime to a non-anime fan, one thing I always mention is how the medium can always go beyond its simple animation. With the mentality many Western animated shows have established on the audience, people always bring on the fact that anime is suitable for a younger audience. Animation may be for kids, but anime can go much deeper than what you'd expect. Steins Gate has a time travel story that can beat any other poorly executed Western movie with a time traveling plot. A show like Violet Evergarden or A Silent Voice can bring you to tears with its emotionality, and movies like Your Name and 5 centimeters per second have gorgeous and realistic animation that you could just get lost in. But today I'm adding an anime that's rather old and has passed under the radar, but is still worth a watch because it's a hidden masterpiece. Yes, if not obvious by the video title itself, I'm talking about Garden of Sinners. Garden of Sinners is a set of 8 movies released back in 2007 and is based on the light novels of the same name. It was animated by Ufotable and was released in each year until its last movie, Future Gospel, released in the year 2013. Now in this video, I'm planning on discussing why you should watch these movies and what's so great about them, and what makes them stand out from many anime that are being released nowadays. The story set in the early 1990s and revolves around the life of Shiki Ryogi, the heiress of the famous Ryogi clan. Meeting a fatal accident, Shiki gets the mystic eyes of death perception, eyes that let her visualize the lines of death of any living or dead being. By cutting these lines, she can kill her opponents or completely get rid of their existence. The movie follows her relationship with fellow classmate Mikiya Goto and their adventures as they later join a detective agency led by a woman named Toko Aozaki. Garden of Sinners belongs to the Nasuverse and the original Type Moon universe. If those names sound foreign to you, I'll just simply say it belongs to the same universe as the Fate franchise. Yes, in other words, this was written by the same author who wrote the Fate visual novel Ginoko Nasu. When the very first Fate anime was released, I wasn't impressed by Nasu's work, but as the anime series of the other 2 routes of the novels got released, I was amazed how he combined the histories of these famous heroes into the story and also brought out the themes of sacrifice and heroism in such a unique way. And if that was what got me amazed in his talent, The Garden of Sinners was what made me bow down to the man in respect. Garden of Sinners was released as a light novel even before the Fate visual novel, and even though many don't know it, this helped establish the core magic system in the world of Nasu's other works. It helped introduce some of the most integral and fundamental concepts of this universe, such as the Akashic records, Counterforce, souls, and the mystic eyes of death perception. Compared to anime being released nowadays, Garden of Sinners has a very minor amount of characters, and this actually plays to its advantage. To be honest, one of the reasons the anime shines at its peak is because of the characters. With each movie, we're introduced to a new character who's, one way or the other, integral to the plot. There are no minor characters or characters that are left ignored. Everyone has a part to play in the story that's being unraveled. Characters that even make a minor appearance in the early films play a major role later in the series. One thing in Nasu's writing is that each character revolves around a central theme or philosophy that ties into the much larger themes it's trying to convey, but I'll get onto that a little bit later, because I need to devote the last part of this section to the character of Ryogi Shiki. Shiki's a mostly silent and numb character, yet we're immediately drawn to her presence, even when she's among a group of other characters. Now this is what I like to call strong writing, because while many modern writers give the funny, loudmouthed or overpowered trait to anime protagonists and sometimes shroud them with a large amount of flaws so we could just sympathize with them, Nasu writes Shiki just to be a normal woman who can still grip the attention of the audience. Behind that impassive expression of hers, she holds a strong charisma that can attract the audience. She's overpowered, yes, but that's rarely played as a trump card in anime because the show's story focuses on highlighting her flaws over her strengths. She's a unique female character that stands out from the many female character cliches we see nowadays, and I think there's a reason why most players of Fate Grand Order choose her as their main heroine as soon as she becomes available. Before I mention how each character contributes to a theme of the story. This fact and the way the themes are portrayed is another reason this anime stands out from the regular anime storytelling. Now let me give you a spoiler-free example in this case. The first movie, Overlooking View, revolves around the theme of flying versus floating. So what's the difference between the two words? Flying means that you're using your own strength to spread your wings and soar to the sky, but when you hear the word floating, it almost feels like you're talking about an inanimate object, because floating isn't an action that we use an extra strength on. Beyond these words exists the theme of living with purpose and living without purpose, and this is what the characters of the first movie allude to as a whole. What's so amazing about it is the way these themes are slowly embedded into the structure of the story, with the movie ending providing a conclusion to the above raised themes. If you ask me, that's one of the best storytelling techniques I've seen to date. The show also consists of more mature themes such as rape, suicide, drug abuse, incest, and the nature and motives of murder. It also doesn't shy away from violence either, and some murders and bloodshed in this show can even put some Western TV shows to shame. The themes and issues of the story also draw large inspiration from Buddhism and other Eastern religions, as it talks about the nature of life, the consequences of sin, as well as death and rebirth. The philosophical questions discussed here are also much mature, so if you're a 13-year-old kid who's trying to find the next best anime to watch after finishing Dragon Ball, then this might not be the best choice for you. I wouldn't be doing justice to this video if I didn't mention the other two main reasons that propel this anime to a masterpiece: the animation and the soundtrack. I need to remind you that we're talking about the year of 2007 here, where shows like Death Note and Code Geass were hailed for their stories, but one thing Garden of Sinners can still triumph compared to other popular anime is its animation. It's no surprise considering the studio behind all the 8 films was Ufotable. If you watch the recently released Heaven's Feel movie, you can see the studio had allocated enough of an animation budget to build a second Japan. Ufotable always has a way of blending CGI with traditional animation to bring out its own unique style of animation, and it's the same with Garden of Sinners. The animation is out of its age and the visuals only make you more immersed in the great storytelling. The direction of the anime was also exceptional. There's subtle symbolism, metaphors to match the themes, and even the environment designs are done to complement the overall emotion that the scene needs. There are horror scenes that can actually give you chills, and action scenes with badass soundtracks that can just keep you on the edge of your seats. And finally, when the more emotional conclusions arrive, the anime knows how to wrap them up nicely with its own melancholic tone. Of course, I'm not being biased here, and there were a few scenes that were poorly executed, or perhaps just needed some more improvement, but they don't hinder your overall enjoyment. The soundtracks and music of this show deserves its own compliment, because even if you think I'm exaggerating, I'm sure there's no other anime that immerses you in the music the same way Garden of Sinners does. The music's composed by the talented Yuki Kajira, who, if you don't know, is the person who composed tracks for Fate Zero, Buella Magi Madoka Magica, Sword Art Online, and even the now completed Heaven's Feel trilogy. The special thing about these soundtracks is that they completely match the tone of the film and even manage to give you that nostalgia as you hear it. A good example for this is the ending music of the first movie, Oblivious by Galafina, whom, if you remember, is the team of lead singers led by Yuki Kajura, who composed the second opening of the Fate Zero anime. The music manages to give you a feeling of loneliness, mixed in with some sadness and melancholy, which is directly related to the themes of the first movie. Same goes for the other music, and just like Attack on Titan wouldn't be so epic without its soundtrack, Garden of Sinners wouldn't be so emotional without its music. Now, it wouldn't be fair for me to tell you to just go and watch it without mentioning the watch order, because if you didn't know, Garden of Sinners is narrated in a non-linear fashion. For example, the very first movie, Overlooking View, is the 4th entry in the series if you take it in a chronological perspective. Many fans of the series mention that the best way to watch the series is in the order in which it was released, and I do partly agree with them. I also believe the chronological order does much justice to the characters and helps for a new fan to quickly grasp the story. But overall, it basically summarizes into this: if you prefer mystery over characters and want to enjoy the story the way it was meant to be enjoyed, then watch it in the order it was released. But if you prefer to get to know the characters before jumping into the story, it's better to choose the chronological order of the narrative. So how can I round up my long rant about this series in just a few words? Why should you watch this movie series if you haven't watched it already? To summarize what I've said before, it's the way of storytelling that makes this anime unique. It's done in such a fascinating way of mixing in themes with character arcs and stories with different philosophies, which hasn't been done in anime nor any Western medium of storytelling. Mix it with the amazing music and visuals, and you've got an anime that deserves its own Oscar. As a final verdict, Garden of Sinners is a masterpiece of storytelling about love, guilt, death, sin, and most of all, the very nature of life. So, did you enjoy this video? If you're a fan of the series and just watched this video to get back to the usual nostalgia, drop some spoiler-free comments about the series down below in the comments. And if you're someone who's planning on watching the series, let us know what you're most hyped about. Either way, I plan on doing more videos similar to this, so if you enjoyed it, drop a like and let us know any other anime we should analyse in this pattern. That's me signing off today, anime fans, and I'll see you in the next video.